Pirates, summon the heroic spirit Drake at the beginning. Author, like the wind. Page 161. You kid, we all promise to be what you want to do. Garp looked at Ziyan dissatisfied and said, it's nothing, but because our doctor is not available for the time being, I plan to let Semiramis poison you. Ziyan shrugged his shoulders and continued, but if you let her poison you, you won't be too gentle. I hope you will be prepared. No. Garp stared. He saw with his own eyes the fate of the 20 agents who returned to the ship. Let Semiramis come to attack him and others. Garp was really worried. Okay, Cap, we've had some contacts. You should believe that since I promised to let you go as soon as I got my things, I will do it. Ziyan nodded to Garp, and then looked at Semiramis, who was slowly falling from the sky due to the disappearance of the Sky Garden. Semiramis, please give them some poison that won't kill them. Really, Ziyan, you will really cause trouble for me. Semiramis pressed his forehead and said, passing by an ant without stepping on it to death, it's hard to control the force. Hee, I'm sorry to bother you. Ziyan approached Semiramis and took her hand and said. Semiramis shook his head, with a helpless expression on Ziyan. Since it is your request, I will do it well. Semiramis looked at Garp, who looked at him worriedly. Don't worry, since I agreed to Ziyan's request, I will naturally not let you die. In a while, I will poison you according to your respective strengths. I hope you don't resist, otherwise my poisoning will become heavier and I will lose my strength. Then don't blame me. After Semiramis finished speaking, lavender smoke spread from around her body, and quickly rushed towards the Navy and the people of the world government. Since everyone present heard what Semiramis said, they didn't resist Semiramis' poison too much, allowing them to enter their bodies. Soon, the weaker Navy was the RST to faint on the ground, and as time passed, the lieutenant generals, Garp and Zephyr, also became weak. Looking at Hai and others who were temporarily unable to move, Ziyan smiled and said, then send you to the dungeon. This matter will be over. Before the transaction is completed, I need to trouble you to pay more attention to such powerful people as Garp, Semiramis. After seeing Semiramis nodding, Ziyan used telekinetic power to control the Navy and you towards the dungeon of the castle. It's nearly done. After throwing all the Navy into the dungeon, Ziyan stretched his waist and looked at Shanks beside him. I kept you waiting for a long time. If you don't mind, come and sit in this castle. Shanks nodded. In the end, we didn't help at all. However, we have been chasing the traces of your voyage for so long to enter you, so we must have a drink with you today. Thank you for your kindness. Yes, we have been chasing you for a long time. Jesus stepped forward and said, since I settled down with my wife and son, we have been chasing you. But your sailing speed is too fast. If you hadn't stayed on this island for a while, we don't know when we will catch up with you. Hearing what Shanks and Jesus said, Ziyan smiled. Okay, let's go in and talk about the next thing. There are still good chefs in the castle. Everyone has waited for so long, so let's eat while we wait. Say it. After finishing speaking, Ziyan took the lead and walked into the castle, followed by Ziyan's companions and Shanks' party. During the time when Ziyan and the others held a banquet in the castle with the red-haired pirates, the outside world was completely noisy. Although the battle between Ziyan's group and the Navy and others took place late at night, the movement brought about by the battle still attracted many bold people to observe. Among them, reporters who are particularly sensitive to major events rushed to the front. And in the daytime, more people saw the battle between the Navy and Ziyan's side. For Gilgamesh and Arcturia, who had never appeared in the world before, to defeat Zephyr and Garp respectively, those who watched the battle were extremely shocked. And the huge air fortress of the Skyr made them open their mouths even more. For this one that can fly in the air, reporters quickly took pictures of it as soon as it appeared. And when the huge light cannon sprayed from the fortress to the Golden Lion and his group, their shutter sound of their cameras never stopped. Now that Hai and others were brought into the castle by Ziyan, the journalists quickly returned to their place of residence and contacted their superiors. Soon, the details of the battle between Ziyan's side and the Navy and the world government's side spread to the whole world. Ziyan and his party once again entered the eyes of the world with a strong pace, and their world government is most concerned about all this. Mary Joya, in the Ifs of the Vold Stars. Page 162. The people with the highest power in the world government are sitting in the Ifs, looking solemnly at the photos of the vanity garden in the sky, on the table, and their eyes are even more on the photos of the Sky Garden ring light cannons stayed on for a long time. Tell me, do you think this thing is really the King of Heaven? The blonde Wuloxing said gloomily. I don't know, but that Nicole Robin is by Ziyan's side, which makes her more believable as the King of Heaven. The Vold Stars holding the sword said. According to the information, that Nicole Robin also entered Ziyan's place only recently. From the perspective of time, it should be impossible to help Ziyan get the King of Heaven. The Vold Stars with curly hair said. Indeed, it's also possible that Ziyan and his group possess the Heavenly King from their very beginning. That blue star is more troublesome than imagined. The Vold Stars with long beards continued. It's still not sure that it must be the King of Heaven, but we need to pay more attention to this blue star. organization. Regardless of, is that Sky Fortress the King of Heaven? Without a doubt, it also has the power to destroy islands. The curly-haired Wu Loxing said, combined with Ziyun's powerful companions constantly appearing around him, that Ziyun's organization can be said to be more dangerous than their 4 emperors. Moreover, they even made friends with the red-haired pirates. The blonde Vold Stars said, in the future, the intelligence agencies of the world government must pay close attention to this organization named Blue Star. And if there is a chance to destroy them in the future, we will use all means to destroy them. And we must not take them down. Reconsideration, 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 reconsideration. The remaining Vold Stars agreed with Jin Xing's opinion. La, what an interesting group of people. They actually captured that guy Garp again. Looking at the newspaper in his hand, the Whitebeard laughed. He said, also, the Drake pirates even know the Red Hair pirates. If you have a chance in their future, you should go to the Red Hair pirates to get to know Ziyun and his group. Father, shouldn't we pay more attention to that Air Fortress? Marco said beside Whitebeard. Many people now say that the Air Fortress is the King of Heaven. It is said that the King of Heaven has the power to destroy the world. That is indeed a huge thing. And this Air Fortress is a bit like that. Drake's 8, both of which can shoot lasers. Whitebeard remembered the news about Drake defeating the Golden Lion in the newspaper earlier. No matter what, this fortress is not the King of Heaven. But what is certain is that Ziyun's organization has mastered some powerful technologies. However, we just think about these things, and we can't come up with the answer. Ha. Ancient weapons, Heavenly King. In a luxurious office in Alabaster, the sand crocodile is staring at the news about their Sky Garden of Vanity in the newspaper. That Nicole Robin, who can read history, is in Ziyun's hands. So is Ziyun really the Heavenly King obtained through Nicole Robin? Thinking that he had been looking for Nicole Robin, hoping that she could help him obtain their ancient weapon, Pluto, but now she appeared beside Ziyun. Crocodile couldn't help but squeeze the newspaper tightly. Since that Nicole Robin can help Ziyun get the King of Heaven, it can also help me get the King of Pluto. Crocodile thought to himself, but the problem is how to get Nicole Robin from Ziyun. This Ziyun and his companions are not easy to mess with. Thinking of this, Crocodile frowned in annoyance, and used his ability to turn the entire newspaper into sand. I want the members of the island to keep an eye on Nico Robin. Crocodile shook his head and said to himself, then, let's send it here. Ziyun. Outside the castle of Duel Island, after the banquet, Ziyun, Hongfa and others came to their gate to the castle. This meeting really opened my eyes. I hope we can drink like this again in the future. Shanks said happily. Yes, I hope to meet Dr. Tsunade later, and express my gratitude to him face to face. Jesus followed closely. Here's the chance. Jesus. Ziyun smiled and looked at Jesus. Boo. In the future, we will also go to the new world, and at that time, we must be able to meet again. Page 163. However, Captain Drake on my side is going to be the woman of One Piece, so in general, we are still rivals. When the time comes, don't blame us for competing with you. Really, with competitors like you, we have to be careful. Shanks smiled. However, you should be the leader among you, so why didn't you become their captain and become the Pirate King, but let that Drake become the Pirate King instead? Ziyun smiled and said, because I want to be the man of One Piece. Ziyun emphasized the word man. You are the man who will become the One Piece. Shanks looked at Ziyun suspiciously. But didn't you say you want to make that Drake their Pirate King? Why did you say you want to be the Pirate King? Not only Shanks, but also his companions looked at Ziyun curiously. I didn't say I was going to be the One Piece, Shanks. Ziyun shook his head. I just said that I want to be the man of One Piece. But aren't the two statements the same? Shanks said puzzled. You don't understand, Shanks. Ziyun said with a smile. Drake became the One Piece, and as a man who is Drake, I am naturally the man of One Piece! Hearing Ziyun's words, Shanks and his companions, who understood the meaning, stared at Ziyun with wide eyes. They had never heard of such a statement before. Ha, that's what it means. Shanks covered his head and smiled. I have to say, Ziyun, you are really an interesting person. Then, goodbye this time, and look forward to meeting you in the new world in the future. No problem. If we beat you at that time, we will also tie you up and ask for ransom. Ziyun rubbed his chin. However, who should I ask for it? The Navy will definitely not pay you ransom. It is even difficult to offer me a bounty. Hey, spare me. We don't have much money. And don't tie us up, you fellow, Shanks said loudly. Ziyun ignored Shanks, still looking thoughtful. Why don't you ask for money from Hades Rayleigh? I heard that guy lives in seclusion in Chambord. Ziyun clenched his left testy and patted the palm of his right hand and said, hey, if you really want it, let's exchange it for a ransom. Shanks counted. Ha, just kidding, Shanks. Ziyun laughed loudly and said, also, that Lily doesn't have much money to pay the ransom either. Ha, I really can't help you. Shanks shook his head. However, You actually know where Vice Captain Rawley is? Your intelligence system is really powerful. Fortunately, I just know some secret things. Ziyan waved his hands, but his face was full of amusement. Okay, let's stop here. RST, Jesus, and your companions. Ziyan looked at everyone in the Red Hair Pirates. Let's meet again in the future. Shanks nodded, and led his companions towards the port. Page 164. After watching Shanks and others leave, Ziyan walked into the castle and came to a room, with the door tightly closed. Boom, boom. I'm coming in, Pelus Lino. After Ziyan knocked on the door, he walked into the room. Inside, Pelus Lino, who was arranged by Ziyan to enter the Navy, has long been waiting here. Sorry to keep you waiting, Pelus Lino, just been dealing with the redheads. People. What's the matter? Pelus Lino got up from the sofa and looked at Ziyan. I just waited here for a while, which is much better than Garp and others who were locked in the cell. How's it going? How's your stay in the Navy? Ziyan sat on the sofa and motioned Pelus Lino to sit down too. Pelus Lino nodded, and sat beside Ziyan. Not at all, Marshal Ziyan. Pelus Lino shrugged. Speaking of which, Sengoku always arranges various tasks when we get there, and there is also the task of escorting the celestial dragons. Pelus Lino shook his head and said, now, to be honest, seeing the faces of these Tanlong people, I really want to kick them in the face. In this case, if you have a chance, kick it hard, Ziyan said lightly. Pelus Lino looked at Ziyan suspiciously, but, in my current capacity, it's not easy to do this. It's okay, just come back when the time comes. Ziyan continued, our current strength has also increased, and I believe that we can withstand any force in this world. In this case, it's meaningless for you to stay in the Navy, why don't you just come back? But, Ziyan rubbed his chin, since you want to leave the Navy, it's not bad to end trouble with their Navy by the way. This time, you will go back with Garp and the others. RST, with your position, you should be able to get access to the devil fruit and money kept in the Navy headquarters. When the time comes for you to come back, you can bring these things back with you. It's really bad, Marshal Ziyan. Pelus Lino rubbed his chin with his hands. I can already imagine the scene where Marshal Sengoku was furious. Hey, when the time comes, I'll release that. The yellow monkey that was sealed in the wet bone forest by Tsunade. Speaking of this, Ziyan couldn't help laughing. Haha, that picture is wonderful just thinking about it. Looking at Ziyan who was laughing wildly, Pelus Lino couldn't help mourning for his other self. Then, you can move freely in this castle now. But if you want to go out, remember to hide your identity. After laughing, Ziyan turned his head to look at Pelus Lino and said, the people in the castle are all our own people, and I have already sent the waiters in the castle away for vacation. But, don't go to the dungeon. Don't be surprised by Garp and the others. I will tell Garp and them later that you and the ... agent have been sealed by Scheherazade. And when Garp and the others leave, I will ask Scheherazade to temporarily seal you, and then release you in front of Garp and the others, and let you leave with them. I listened to the marshal. Pelus Lino nodded and said, then I'll go to the dungeon to see Garp and the others. RST, and you can move freely for their next period of time. After Ziyan finished speaking, he left the room and walked towards the dungeon. Garp, you're feeling alright? Ziyan walked into the dungeon and asked Garp inside. Behind him, a large pile of food was awaiting in the air and followed Ziyan into the dungeon. I don't feel well, I'm in pain all over my body now, and I don't feel like I have any strength at all. Seeing Ziyan, Garp said dissatisfiedly. This is also an unreasonable thing. Page 165. Ziyan shook his head. After all, you are old, and there is something wrong with your body, and pain is normal. Bastard, that's not the reason at all, it's because you let that be poisoned by the woman you call Semiramis. Garp yelled at Ziyan loudly, after being caught by you last time, I just couldn't try my strength. This time, I still have pain all over my body. Is there a mistake? The treatment has become worse. You asshole. Ziyan picked out his ears. That's right. To be able to speak so loudly shows that you are in good spirits. I think I should let Semiramis take care of you more. Are you the devil? Garp stared at Ziyan with wide eyes. In this regard, Ziyan smiled and nodded. Okay, stop joking with you, Cap. Ziyan shook his head. I also told you that Tsunade is not here this time, so I can't poison you. Like last time, the poison in the hands of Semiramis is very violent, and it cannot be done like Tsunade. This time, you and the others can bear it. As he said that, the food behind Ziyan to the front of the cell of Hai and others. These are food and water, for your own body, you should eat more. After speaking, Ziyan planned to leave the dungeon. Wait, Ziyan, where's that fellow Huang Yuan? After Garp was locked in the cell, he didn't see Huang Yuan's Guri there. Now that he saw Ziyan was about to leave, he stopped him immediately. Hearing Garp's words, Ziyan raised the corners of his mouth slightly. Waiting for you to ask, Ziyan thought in his heart. Ziyan turned his head to look at Garp, and said calmly, that guy Huang Yuan and Zero's agents are still sealed by Scheherazade. But don't worry, I asked Scheherazade, and the yellow ape didn't suffer any injuries, but was sealed and couldn't leave there. As for Agent Zero, he was not so lucky. He was almost split in half, and you can only take his body away. However, the fast speed of the yellow ape is indeed a good thing for him. Although he was sealed, he at least avoided most of the attacks. Seal, Garp said suspiciously. What is the seal you are talking about? When you leave, I will release the corpses of Shanhuan Yuan and Agent Zero from the seal, and you will know when the time comes. After finishing speaking, Ziyan planned to leave. Wait, I still have something to ask. Seeing that Ziyan was about to walk out of the cell, Garp, who still had doubts in his heart, hurriedly called out. Ziyan stopped, came to the ground, and used telekinesis to control a chair in the cell to Y from its original position to behind Ziyan. Ziyan sat down gently, raised one leg, and looked at Garp. If you have any questions, just ask. While I am in a good mood, maybe I will answer some of your questions. However, this does not mean that I will answer all your questions. After Garp closed his eyes and pondered for a while, he looked at Ziyan again. There. Little girl I fought with said she was a king, and a night king at that. From his sword, I can indeed feel the noble taste of a knight, but thinking about it, why is she willing to follow you to become a pirate? Hearing Garp's words, Ziyan smiled slightly. Since you asked, then I will tell you about my companions, so that when your navy offers rewards to them, you can also help me promote them better. You kid, are you using our navy as a propaganda tool? Cap said angrily. But in fact, the reward order issued by your navy is a kind of personal propaganda. Ziyan smiled. Her full name is Artoria Pendragon, known as King Arthur. The existence of their King of Knights. As for going to be a pirate with me, Ziyan continued, although I became a pirate on a whim, it doesn't mean that all my companions will become pirates. Archeria doesn't think of herself as a pirate, although he doesn't mind your navy treating her as a pirate. However, if you can, you should put a reward on her as a king. Ha. Then. The king of heroes, and that Semiramis, if they are all kings, why do they respect you so much? Zephyr next to Garp stepped forward and asked. The hero King Gilgamesh and the Empress Semiramis are both kings of a country, there is no doubt about it, although you don't know where their territories are. Page 166. Ziyan shook his head, but this world is so big, even your navy doesn't know everything. They are the same as Artoria, they all sailed with me as a king, and they also have no intention of becoming pirates. As for why I respect you so much, I am sorry, but that is a secret between us. Regarding the existence of the system, Ziyan does not intend to tell these people in the navy. As a king, would you like to travel with you? Even if you are misunderstood as a pirate by their world, I don't mind. Garp looked at Ziyan solemnly. It seems that your identity is not as simple as a pirate. Yes, Zephyr took Garp's words and said, from the fact that you did not become the captain of the Drake pirates, but pushed Drake out, it can be seen that being a pirate is just a temporary interest of yours. You might be a king, maybe. Only a king can make friends with many kings. And many kings gathered together to act, and clearly showed their malice towards the world government. Are you planning to GHT against the world government? After speaking, Zephyr stared at Ziyan closely, hoping to get the answer he wanted from Ziyan's expression. After hearing Zephyr and Garp's words, Ziyan smiled, stood up from the chair, and walked slowly towards the outside of the dungeon. If we were to GHT against the world government, wouldn't we have started a long time ago? Ha. Outside the dungeon, Ziyan's voice reached the ears of Zephyr and Garp. Time passed quickly, and in a blink of an eye, 2 days passed. During this time, the names of the Drake pirates and Blue Star were often mentioned. Even, some people have compared the Drake pirates with the 4 emperors. To be honest, even Ziyan didn't expect that before he and others entered the New World. They already had the reputation of competing against the 4 emperors. But this time the navy acted very quickly, and it only took 2 days to get what Ziyan asked for. To Ziyan, obviously, they don't intend to trap a large amount of their combat power in Ziyan's place. During this period, because Zephyr, Kizaru, Garp and others were captured, the pirates in the world became more turbulent, and the navy urgently needed Garp and others to go back to deal with these problems. After receiving the devil fruit in Bbook from the navy, Ziyan took Semiramis and led Garp and others outside the castle. Here, the admirals and soldiers who came here are anxiously waiting for Ziyan to abide by their agreement and release Garp and the others back. When Garp, Zephyr and other colleagues came out, the admiral could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. Then, Semiramis, let's detoxify these people. Ziyan said to Semiramis beside him. Semiramis nodded, raised his arms, and Garp and the others began to continuously emit purple light, which condensed in Semiramis' hands. And with the departure of the purple light, Garp and others also felt their body became more and more relaxed, until after all the purple light left, they nearly almost recovered. As long as you go back and rest, I believe you can all return to normal. Garp moved his body a bit, and looked at Ziyan. Ziyan, should we let the yellow ape out now? Ziyan looked at Shanruzad behind him and nodded. Shanruzad smiled lightly, walked to Ziyan's side, took out a scroll and unfolded it slightly. From the top of the scroll, you can also see a pattern similar to Peluslino and Agent Zero's corpse. And as Scheherazade unfolded the scroll, the patterns of Peluslino and Agent Zero's corpse began to emit a strong light. The light projected on the ground in front of Scheherazade, and soon, Peluslino, whose clothes were a little messy, and the corpse of Agent Zero, who had just died not long ago, appeared in front of the agents of the Navy and the world government. Here is. Peluslino looked around in confusion. Lieutenant General Garp, Teacher Zephyr, what is their situation now? Don't you GHT? Besides, didn't we come to this island at night? Why is it daytime now? Ziyuan, do you remember what happened? Zephyr frowned slightly when he heard Peluslino's words. It's already 2 days later. Don't you feel it in that scroll? 2 days later, but I obviously feel that not how long has passed. As he said that, Peluslino looked at Scheherazade. However, this woman is very dangerous. If I hadn't reacted quickly, I might have ended up like that. Agent Zero lying on the ground. Really a monster woman. What the hell have you been through? Ape Cap asked suspiciously. The agent of Zero and I came to a world. To be honest, this feeling is a bit like that. Emiya Shiru's ability. Huang Yuan nodded and said, that. There are so many monster-like existences in the world, and they are elusive and have various abilities. To be honest, I still haven't geared out where there is one. Page 167. What kind of place? However, when I got used to that world a bit and wanted to attack that woman, all their monsters in that world suddenly rushed towards me. That scene was really terrifying, and this woman suddenly disappeared from my eyes. And after a blink of an eye, I came here, and you will know what happened after that. Regarding Scheherazade's ability, in order to make Peluslino's words more credible, Ziyun still asked him to disclose some information to the Navy, so as not to be suspected before he left the Navy. And as long as Peluslino can maintain his credibility in the Navy before leaving the Navy, Ziyun's plan will be successful. Maybe it won't be long before Peluslino will be back with a lot of devil fruits and treasures. That's right. Zephyr nodded, and looked solemnly at Scheherazade. Besides Ziyun, it seems that this woman's ability will be very troublesome, Carp. And since the ability of this woman who often appears beside Ziyun is so strong, what about the ability of Minamoto Reimiko, who has been following Ziyun closely? Until now, I haven't really seen her make a move. Do you want to know Raiko's abilities? Ziyun pulled Yuan Lagwang, who was behind her, and gently held her waist. You can recruit people to try yourself. Having said this, Ziyun smiled coldly. However, it's better to write the suicide note. RST. Really, people will die. Once Minamoto Reimiko, who is a berserker, gets serious, Ziyun doesn't think she will show mercy. After hearing Ziyun's words, Garp and Zephyr took a deep look at Minamoto Reimiko. It seems that the woman who got close to Ziyun must be his bodyguard, and their strength is absolutely top-notch. Garp and Zephyr couldn't help thinking of it. Let's go. It's time for us to go back. Garp turned around and walked out of the island. It's really troublesome to report the situation to Sengoku. Zephyr and others followed closely behind. Peluslino touched his head and followed Zephyr. Mr. Zephyr, can you tell me what happened outside? Why are we leaving now? Don't we need to arrest Ziyun and the others? I'll explain the situation to you on the way. Zephyr whispered to Peluslino. Follow us now. All right. Peluslino nodded. In this case, it's time for us to leave this island. Seeing Hai and others leaving, Ziyun also wanted to join everyone on the Golden Deer as soon as possible. However, since this island is our territory, we still need to leave some means. Speaking of this, Ziyun remembered Jimmy, the former head of the island. I heard that guy is still on this island. It would be great if he could be included under my command and help me take charge of this island. Ziyun thought in his heart. Scheherazade, you have been on this island. Do you know where Jimmy is on the island now? Ziyun turned to Scheherazade and asked, I want to ask him if he has the idea of working for me. Although his companions died at our hands, I always feel that the relationship between them is not good, and maybe I can successfully get him to help me guard this place. Jimmy has been staying on the outskirts of the island since he was treated by Tsunade. Scheherazade replied. He built a log cabin by himself, and it seems that he has no intention of leaving here. That's good, then Scheherazade will take me there. Ziyun turned to the other companions. Everyone, go to the castle and wait for me for a while. After seeing his companions nodding, Ziyun followed Scheherazade and walked towards Jimmy. On the way, the residents on the island saw Ziyun and Shanruzad in awe, completely different from when Ziyun and his party RST came to the island. At that time, although the people on the island were afraid of Ziyun and his party, they would still show greedy expressions for Ziyun and his party from time to time. Page 168. When facing Ziyun's female companion, this expression is even worse. If Ziyun hadn't stopped Minamoto Reimiko, many people might have died here. But now, seeing Ziyun and the others, these people no longer have greed. Whether it's the bounty for Ziyun's group, or for Ziyun's female companions, go to the territory of the Golden Lion and Ziyun to take. When it came time to pay, Ziyun's companions who stayed on the island taught them a lot. For some stubborn people, many were executed. Among them, Minamoto Larimitsu killed many people who dared to show disrespectful expressions and words to her. Coupled with a battle between Ziyun and his party and Hai and others, these people realized the gap between themselves and Ziyun and others, and they no longer dare not disrespect them. Even those who were afraid of Ziyun and his companions left the island by boat early. Soon, Ziyun arrived at Jimmy's house led by Scheherazade. At this moment, Jimmy was shirtless, waving the blade in his hand earnestly facing the waves. In front of his body, there is a scar that has healed but looks particularly ferocious, which is their wound he was cut by Musashi in the competition with Musashi. It looks like you're fully recovered, Jimmy. Ziyun approached Jimmy and said, and looking at your little house, it seems that you have no plans to leave this island yet. It is you. Jimmy withdrew the knife in his hand and looked at Ziyun. Your Excellency, what are you doing here? Could it be that you want to drive the former person in charge of my island out of here? Not really. Ziyun shook his head. On the contrary, I plan to let you continue to manage this island, but you need to hang our blue star. Ag. Are you going to recruit me? Jimmy looked at Ziyun in surprise. Aren't you worried that I will avenge you for my friends? Do you know? Ziyun smiled. I always feel that the relationship between you is not good. After hearing Ziyun's words, Jimmy was silent for a while, and the knife in his hand. If I join you, will I still be able to join forces with Miyamoto Musashi? Certainly. Ziyun nodded. I can guarantee this point. In addition, Musashi is not the only one who is good at using swords. Just yesterday, there was a swordsman who defeated Garp. If you have the chance, you can also compete with her. I've heard about it. Jimmy nodded. I naturally felt the strong fluctuations in the battle last night, but I didn't watch it. But, this morning, I got a rough idea of the battle from the people on the island. Now think about it, if we GHT with you, we won't be wronged. Jimmy shook his head and said, so, what's your decision? Would you like to help me guard this island? Ziyun said. Jimmy nodded. After staying on this island for so long, I can't and don't want to leave this island anymore. Since I join you and I can compete with such an excellent swordsman as Musashi, then I am willing to join. You are welcome to join us. Ziyun walked up to Jimmy and patted him on the shoulder. Don't worry, if you work on my side, you won't be paid less. Also, I plan to arrange some things over the castle, so you can't live there. This is natural. Jimmy nodded. The castle is where the king lives, and I'm just a subordinate who works for you, the king. So naturally I can't live there. After I set up some things there, it might be dangerous to enter casually. Ziyun explained to Jimmy, even if it's for your safety, you can't enter casually. But if someone invades the island and you can't stop them, you can let them enter the castle temporarily. The things inside will entertain them well. And you can also take the opportunity to contact us. Page 169. Letting the enemy invade the king's castle is a disqualification for a subordinate. Jimmy shook his head. Since I promised to be your subordinate, I will naturally do my best. If someone wants to invade the castle, they must step over my dead body. Hearing Jimmy's words, Ziyun smiled with satisfaction. You say that, it makes me value you even more. Save your life and work hard for me. If you die, it will be a loss to me. Okay, later, I will ask my companion to give you our blue star. Ag. You'll need to hang up at signposts all over the island. In addition, we will leave this island soon, so that you can better manage this island. We will greet the residents of this island. Then, see you later. After speaking, Ziyun led Shanruzad towards the castle. On the sponge not far from Duel Island, the naval warship carrying Carp and others is sailing fast. The sailors on the ship lost their previous fighting spirit and spirit. After experiencing the failure on Duel Island, every sailor on the ship was depressed. That's all I've learned, Garp said to Sengoku on the opposite side of the phone bug. Is that so? 3 kings with unique powers and powerful weapons. Ziyun really has some amazing guys around him. On the opposite side of the phone call, Zango supported his head and said with a headache, 301, 141, 141, 144. Anyway, since they are against the Navy and the world government, they should be arrested. Warring States said seriously, since they don't regard themselves as pirates, then reward them as evil kings. Carp, Zephyr, and the Oracle. Now after this incident, we need to suspend dealing with this group of people. The monsters in the New World have already taken action, and we need to suppress them there. As for the Drake Pirates and Blue Star, let's leave it to those who are interested in huge rewards to deal with them. In addition, the world government will step up surveillance on Blue Star. Wu Loxing is very concerned about that. The air fortress, and after this period of time subsides, he may arrange manpower to deal with Ziyun and his group again. At that time, the Navy will nightly send manpower. Garp, you have to be mentally prepared. Page 170. To be honest, I really don't want to face them anymore. There are too many monsters on their side. Peluslino shook his head and said, I have been defeated for no reason twice in a row. It's the 3rd time, and I haven't said anything yet. Garp said unhappily, no matter what, the order above must still be executed. However, even if you lose the battle with them, you don't have to worry too much about your safety. As long as warring states spends more money, it will be me. Ha ha. Carp, you bastard. Do you think those supplies are for nothing? Sengoku on the opposite side of the phone bug roared loudly. Anyway, come back as quickly as possible now. There is still a lot of work waiting for you to do. After speaking, Sengoku hung up the phone. Marshal of the Warring States period. How much reward should we give to these people? Okiji in the office asked after seeing Sengoku finished calling. This organization of Xian can already be compared with the four emperors. Zango rested his hands on his chin, and after a little thought, he said, it is indeed comparable to the four emperors, so the bounty for them should also be set according to the four emperors' standards. Moreover, our navy can also promote the Drake pirates or Blue Star, is the FTH emperor of their sea. But the New World probably won't be able to accommodate the FTH Emperor, Okiji said with a little doubt. Although it is said that the red-haired pirates have a good relationship with them, the other 3-4 emperors may not allow them to secure position of the FTH Emperor. That's exactly what I want, Warring States said in a low voice. The strength of Xian's group is beyond doubt. If we can get the other 4 emperor pirates to help us deal with them, it will save us a shot. Also, even if the other 4 emperors fail to defeat the Drake pirates, they can still curb their development. And if the Drake pirates defeat the other 4 emperors, we'll have one less problem. For us, no matter. Regardless of the result, we all made money. As for the rewards, that guy Xian offered a reward of 42 billion Baileys, Scheherazade next to Xian offered a reward of 15 billion Baileys, and the King of Knights and King of Heroes, who defeated Garp and Zephyr respectively, also offered a reward of 15 billion Bailey. As for that, suspected to be the Assyrian Empress Semiramis, who holds the Heavenly King's billion Bailey, regardless of, is that the air fortress is the King of Heaven. It is a dangerous item. If there is a chance, we need to control him in the hands of our navy. The world government should not allow it, Okiji said. If we get it, they will ask us to give it to them. Even so, such a dangerous thing cannot be left in the hands of Xian and his group, Zango said solemnly, and that Drake, who was pushed out by Xian to be the captain, is undoubtedly Xian's right-hand man. Her sudden aid is equally dangerous, according to reports from intelligence personnel at the scene. The destructive power of Drake's aid is not inferior to that of Miramis' air fortress. If this effect wasn't achieved by a single aid, I would have thought that Drake was in control of the legendary warship and ancient weapon, Pluto. Also, this is a aid that can and appear suddenly. Kuzan, you should know how powerful such a aid can cause damage, right? Kizan nodded. This means that even if we surround them with a large number of people, it is possible that Drake will suddenly summon aid to surround us. After all, we don't know how many ships that Drake can summon. So, for Drake, who is the captain, I decided to offer her a reward of 33 billion berry. Sengoku nodded and said, and that Spartacus and Miyamoto Musashi, who made a big fuss in the duel arena, those 2 guys are definitely not simple characters. Musashi's ability has been fully demonstrated. She is indeed a powerful swordsman, so I decided to offer her a reward of 8 million berry. That Spartacus, let's put a reward of 3 million berry on him for now. However, this guy probably still has considerable strength, so when facing him, you can't judge his strength only by the bounty. And that the man named Dio Brando, who was able to defeat a top 0 agent and 2 senior agents, then give him a reward of 10 billion berry. As for Xian's other partners who haven't shown much strength, they all offer a reward of million berry. I feel that those guys are definitely not simple characters, Warring States said solemnly. So far, none of Xian's partners has ever failed in a battle. Whether it is Li Shiwen, the Night King, or others, they can all win when facing the strong. So, do those partners who have not shown much strength also have that kind of combat power? I am skeptical about this. If you like this audiobook, subscribe the channel for more videos like this. And join my Patreon if you want to support me, where you can find advanced audiobooks that hasn't been uploaded on YouTube till now. Leave some comment and let me know if you guys like this story, or you have a web novel you like and want to hear its audiobook. I will be happy to create them for you. Please like, share, and leave a comment on the video.